Amy's revenge. How Caryn Chandler secretly robbed Roloff Farms. LPBW update. What if the biggest betrayal in Little People Big World was not filmed for the cameras? What if Amy Roloff did not just lose a marriage but was slowly pushed out of the very farm she helped build from the ground up? For years, fans of Little People Big World watched Roloff Farms grow into a million-dollar empire. They watched Amy Roloff pour her heart into pumpkin seasons, family events, and raising 4 children on that land. Then suddenly, the marriage ended. The farm was divided. And Caryn Chandler stepped from employee to partner to the woman standing beside Matt Roloff in every major decision. But here's the question no one can stop asking. Was Amy simply divorced or was she strategically replaced? Tonight, we are breaking down the emotional timeline, the business negotiations, the failed deal with Zach Roloff, and the quiet decisions that changed the future of Roloff Farms forever. No rumors without context. No blind accusations. Just facts, patterns, and the moments that made fans believe something deeper was happening behind the scenes. Because this is not just about property. It is about power, influence, loyalty, and what happens when the foundation of a family business begins to crack. Stay with me. What you are about to hear might completely change how you see Amy, Matt, Caryn, and the future of Roloff Farms. First, we need to go back to the beginning. Roloff Farms sits in Oregon and spans more than 100 acres. When Amy Roloff and Matt Roloff bought the property decades ago, it was not the tourist destination we know today. It was a risk. It was a dream. And it was built through years of physical labor, creative marketing, and the exposure of a reality show that turned their private life into public entertainment. Amy often described the farm as her safe place. She raised 4 children there. She hosted pumpkin seasons. She welcomed thousands of visitors. And when Little People Big World premiered in 2006, the farm became the centerpiece of the family's brand. But behind the scenes, the marriage between Amy and Matt was deteriorating. Years of tension, different personalities, and accusations of emotional distance were building pressure. When they officially separated and later divorced, the question was not just who hurt who. The real question was who would control the farm. Here is where Caryn Chandler enters the story. Caryn had worked as a manager at Roloff Farms for years. She was deeply involved in operations during pumpkin season. She knew the property. She knew the finances. And she worked closely with Matt Roloff. After the separation between Amy and Matt became public, Matt began a relationship with Caryn. For some viewers, this felt sudden. For others, it felt inevitable. Rumors had circulated long before the divorce that their relationship may have begun emotionally before the marriage officially ended. Those rumors were never legally proven in court, but they shaped public perception in a powerful way. Amy later wrote in her memoir that she felt there had been inappropriate interactions before the divorce was finalized. She described discovering messages that made her uncomfortable. While she did not present it as a legal accusation of infidelity, she made it clear she felt deeply betrayed. And that sense of betrayal is critical to understanding why so many fans see Caryn as the villain of this story. After the divorce, Amy and Matt became co-owners of the farm. They agreed to split the property into portions. But co-ownership meant constant negotiation, constant tension, constant reminders of what had been lost. Eventually, Amy made the decision to sell her remaining portion of the farm to Matt. This was not a small transaction. It involved millions of dollars. On paper, it was a business decision. Amy stated publicly that it was too emotionally difficult to continue sharing ownership with her ex-husband. But here is where the controversy intensified. Fans noticed that once Amy sold her share, Caryn's presence at the farm increased. She appeared in more scenes. She discussed future plans. She was seen as part of the strategic conversations about the property. And when Matt later listed part of Roloff Farms for sale instead of offering it to his sons at the price they hoped for, the outrage exploded. Zach Roloff and his wife Tori Roloff had expressed interest in purchasing a portion of the farm. Negotiations reportedly fell apart over price and terms. Zach later stated publicly that he felt disappointed and hurt by how the discussions were handled. He suggested that certain family members influenced the negotiations in ways that made it difficult for them to reach an agreement. Though Zach did not explicitly accuse Caryn of wrongdoing, fans connected the dots. They believed she had too much influence. They believed she was steering Matt's decisions. They believed Amy had been slowly edged out of the very land she helped build. The phrase secretly robbed began circulating online. But what does that actually mean? There is no evidence that Caryn illegally took ownership of Roloff Farms. There is no documented fraud. There is no criminal case. Legally speaking, Amy sold her share willingly.
Contracts were signed. Payments were made.
However, in the court of public opinion, legality is not the only measure of fairness. For many viewers, the emotional timeline tells a different story. They saw Amy struggling for years in a marriage where she often felt unheard. They saw Matt making big decisions without her full agreement. They saw Caryn transition from employee to romantic partner. And they saw Amy ultimately leave the property while Caryn remained. To fans, it felt like displacement. Like a slow takeover. Like watching the original architect of the dream pack her boxes while someone else decorated the living room. But let us pause and examine another angle. Matt Roloff has always been portrayed as the visionary, the risk-taker, the businessman. He has made it clear that the farm's expansion and branding were largely driven by his ambition. He has also stated that the negotiations with Zach were business decisions, not emotional betrayals. From this perspective, Caryn was not robbing anyone. She was simply supporting her partner. She did not own the farm. She did not sign the checks. Matt did. So why does the narrative of revenge continue to grow? Because Amy's transformation after leaving the farm changed everything. After selling her share, Amy married Chris Marek. She began building a new life. And something shifted. She seemed lighter, more confident, less defensive. In interviews, she spoke about reclaiming her voice. Many fans began to see Amy's revenge not as a financial counterattack, but as emotional liberation. She wrote her memoir. She told her side of the story. She allowed viewers to see her pain without filtering it through Matt's perspective. And in doing so, she reclaimed the narrative. Meanwhile, tensions between Matt and Zach escalated. Zach and Tori eventually moved away from Oregon. They distanced themselves from the farm operations. The once tight family business fractured into separate households with limited communication. Some viewers believe this is the real cost of the farm conflict. Not money, not land, but relationships. Roloff Farms was once a symbol of unity. Now it represents division. And where does Caryn stand today? Caryn Chandler remains in a relationship with Matt Roloff. She appears on the show selectively. She has addressed criticism by stating that she understands why fans are emotional, but insists she did not interfere in family negotiations. Her defenders argue that she became an easy scapegoat. That the real issues were between Amy and Matt long before she entered the picture. That divorce is complex. That business disputes between parents and adult children are common. Yet the emotional weight remains. When Amy walks the property now, it is different. When pumpkin season rolls around, the dynamic is different. The cameras capture polite conversations, but the warmth of earlier seasons is gone. In many ways, the farm itself feels like a character that lost its innocence. So was Amy robbed? Financially, she received payment for her share. Legally, the transaction stands. But emotionally, some would argue she lost something money cannot replace. Years of memories. A sense of ownership over her life story. A partnership that once felt permanent. And Amy's revenge is not destruction. It is survival. It is choosing peace over property. It is choosing a new marriage over an old battlefield. It is watching from a distance as the farm struggles to maintain the same magic it once had. The most powerful twist in this story is this. The farm may still stand. Matt may still hold majority control. Caryn may still be by his side. But the public sympathy has largely shifted toward Amy. In reality television, perception shapes legacy. And legacy is everything. Little People Big World began as a show about overcoming physical challenges and celebrating family. Over time, it became a study of power dynamics, ambition, and emotional resilience. Amy Roloff's journey reflects something universal. The pain of feeling replaced. The fear of losing what you built. The courage it takes to walk away. As for Caryn Chandler, history will likely judge her through the lens of public emotion rather than legal fact. Fair or unfair, that is the reality of stepping into a family spotlight that was already fractured. In the end, Roloff Farms is still standing. But it no longer represents the same dream. It represents change. And perhaps the true lesson is this. Ownership is not just about land. It is about narrative. It is about who gets to tell the story. For years, Matt controlled the blueprint. But today, Amy controls her voice. And sometimes, that is the most powerful revenge of all.